was cute.
Thank you.
How are you, Katie?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How you doing?
It's going. Also, I feel like I am very late. Like, does it seem that I late? I'm like, I'm talking and the voice comes in late. I don't know.
Um, no, you're not that. It's not that bad, but I there's like a minor delay, but it's not so terrible.
Hmm. This is so weird. It's like tripping.
It looks all right on my end, so I don't know.
Good. Then that's all that matters.
Oh
Don't die, please.
no, I'm fine. It's just the ice cream I just had.
Fair deal. Do you want to introduce our
Yes,
beautiful podcast?
right, that's true. Hi everyone, welcome to All the Films We Judged Before. I'm Katie, and that is lovely Lily Kay.
Not Troy Baker. And that's the wonderful Katie. Just saying. You know I won't leave it out.
It's just because I already introduced myself, and you're like,
I
no,
don't
that's
care. I don't care. I need to give you a compliment. So what okay, we did a recording on Monday and it's only Thursday, but
yep,
I will still ask, what did you watch?
kind of nothing. I haven't really watched
Nothing.
anything in the past couple of days. I've been my friend Emma has been streaming a lot of stuff, so I've been watching her stuff, stream some stuff. That's a Cemetery on Twitch. Just a little shout out to my friend Twitch Sensation Cemetery. And I've just been playing a lot of Hades in the meantime, so I haven't really been watching very much.
Okay.
But what have you been watching?
Well, yesterday, for example, I rewatched War of the Worlds, which I haven't seen in
Wait, the which one?
the the Tom Cruise one.
Wow,
War of the
okay.
Worlds. And I made some realizations
Uh-huh.
during that film. I love that film. And that still applies. I think it's a good film. But oh my god, the kids were so annoying. it,
Poor
it
Dakota
might be
Fanning.
it might be my age. I don't know. At this point, that's my conclusion that I am just getting so easily annoyed that I'm like, ah. But I also gotta say that Dakota Fanning is just slayed everything no matter what she did. It was like,
She was
even though she,
young when she did that, didn't she? I'm trying to
yeah, she was like 10-ish, 9-ish, something like that.
Dakota Fanning, War of the
It's
Worlds. Age.
2005 movie, so
She was 10.
10. There you go. There you go.
Thanks, Google.
And yes, thanks, Google. And oh my god, I can't get over, like, I do think that the child actors that we are getting nowadays are also, some of them are exceptionally good. Like, I could list all the kids from Stranger Things or from It, uh, or whatever. Really, we have some extraordinary youngsters, but Dakota Fanning is still like, she's just up the top.
Sorry, youngsters really got me.
Sorry, I'm old.
Those kids.
Those kids. I've been feeling old lately. Okay, so I can moan about it.
Get out from my
Uh,
law.
oh my god. Oh jeez, I'm just 30, so I'm like, I'm not that old, I know. So don't add me, okay? But I also watched Enola Holmes.
We had a bit of discussion about Enola Holmes.
I I am still on edge with it. I'm like,
I don't like when I was talking. God damn it!
come on, Katie, don't die, please.
It's fine. It's just I'm just clearing my chest, you know. When I was telling you about it, I wasn't trying to make out like it was like the best movie ever or anything,
Yeah.
because I don't think it is that at all. But I think it's a fun little romp, you know, and I think it was better than I was anticipating it to be.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I wouldn't say that.
It was a fun movie based off a kid's book. I think it's just sort of like take it as is, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd watch another one.
I will watch another one as well. Like, it wasn't like, oh my god, I'm on edge because I can't decide if it's bad or good. It's more like that. The thing that I told you as well, that if kids are growing up with her, and then we have Sherlock, I'm just not sure if I am okay with that. It's not like I've been reading Sherlock Holmes when I was a kid. Like, it's nothing like that. But it was Sherlock Holmes, and and done.
I think you're reading into it a bit too much.
I know. Probably. I'm probably right.
Like, I really don't think it. I mean, maybe initially they might be like, oh, there's they might, you know, draw a certain conclusion, but, you know, probably very quickly figure out that actually this is a side character to a very famous detective from.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't bad. Like, I wouldn't say that. And obviously, like, the cast was really good. Millie Bobby did a great job.
She did.
Um,
Okay, but here's the
so
big question. What did you think of Henry Cavill Sherlock Holmes? Because you have mixed feelings on Mr. Cavill. As an actor, not as a human being. We all think he's great
no,
as a person.
yes, most definitely. Well, he wasn't in there too much.
No, that's very true, and that was very
so
intentional as well.
yeah. But I mean, what I saw from him, I would probably watch a movie where he plays
There you
Sherlock
go.
as a full.
Because that was the impression I got from it as well. I really enjoyed what he had with that character. But there was like,
Yeah.
did you know about the lawsuit that the Conan Doyle estate brought against the film? Because
No.
apparently the version of Sherlock Holmes they were basically said, you can't have Sherlock be hot because that is against the character, and also you can't have him be nice. Because that part of the Sherlock Holmes character isn't actually in the public domain yet. Like that, like post Final Problem, Sherlock Holmes was like a lot nicer and kind of calmer and all that sort of stuff. And apparently, because those novels are not actually in the public domain, they weren't allowed to make him that way. It's the stupidest lawsuit you've ever heard of. It's like you're suing them because you made Sherlock too nice and too attractive.
Okay. That's really strange.
It's insane. Yes.
It's insane. I don't know about it, you know, it's like Sherlock is a very interesting character for me. I never thought of him as someone nice, but there is actually kindness in him, like even in the books. So
Yeah.
I don't know what their
I don't know.
problem is.
This is the Conan Doyle thing. I think maybe they just like to bring money out of people every so often.
Yeah, maybe.
Supposedly, I'm not slandering anybody. Please don't come after me.
Please don't kill us. Fair deal. So yeah, that's the two thing I watched, and obviously
It's today's episode.
yes.
Oh man,
it's Katie's dream coming true.
I'm thrilled.
If you didn't know, Katie's been living in the West Wing for the past couple months.
Yeah. So yeah, about 3 months now. Let's put it this way. Okay. Beginning of the story. I have been wanting to watch The West Wing for a very long time, but it wasn't on anything. It wasn't on Netflix here in the UK. It wasn't on Prime. It wasn't so high up in my list of priorities that I was like gonna go out of my way to download it or anything like that. Hang on.
Oh my god.
I promise I'm fine. It's just a bit. I'm just a bit. The ice cream.
Ice cream.
But then I found it like a couple, like mid-November, suddenly discovered that all 7 seasons were on All 4, which is Channel 4's sort of, online for the Americans in the audience. It's the Channel 4's online sort of streaming service thing, and it's free, but you do have to watch ads. And I was like, okay, it's here. I may as well stick an episode on. And then I watched. I was watching that all on Channel 4, and then I got midway through season 4, and I was talking to you about it, and I was like, I couldn't find the DVD box set anyway. It was like, there's one on Amazon. Look, I'll show you. And then found it on Amazon for like 40 quid. And I went, these are mine now. I get it, but it's like stuck. It's behind my green screen up on my shelf. I should have brought it over with me. And then I proceeded to very quickly binge the rest of it. It took about 13 days in total, the whole thing.
It's very intense.
So now I mean, it's one of those shows that I stumbled across, and I'm just it scratched the right part of my brain at the right time. It gave me everything that I kind of wanted to be watching out of a TV show. It's so hopeful and like unabashedly sort of sentimental about the good that people can do. that it was just sort of like, this is nice. I'm just enjoying that. This is like, sort of, look at all these people who are incredibly smart, speaking very quickly and just trying to get shit done because they think it's the right thing to do. They're like, that's nice, you know.
Aw, I like that.
And then we have Why I Love the West Wing. But, man, but it is just some of the best fucking television I've ever seen. Like, it's just so good. I mean, you got that beautiful Sorkin dialogue, at least for the first 4 seasons. And like I have been kind of discussing episodes with a friend of mine because he's currently making his way through them. So every time he watches an episode, he tells me all of his thoughts on the stuff that's happening. And it's like, at least it's particularly with those first 4 seasons, it's like, even when the quality was like less than usual, like you were like, this isn't as good an episode, it was never like, this episode is bad. It was like, here are all the ways that it could have been better. And it was like, it was an intellectual exercise in order to be able to talk about like how things could have been improved, instead of just being that like, I didn't enjoy this. Like, there's always something to really kind of dig into and discuss about it. Because oh man, because the writing is so rich, and there are obviously Sorkin's got a lot of critics who are like, he's a bit sort of soapboxy, and a lot of people don't like the way he writes women, and I understand that in a lot of ways, but also I think I never found any of the women in his stuff to be so problematic that I was like, man, Sorkin, he really seems to hate those women. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I had more thoughts and they've kind of dissipated, but yeah, it's just good television, you know? Like, even when I got into the latter seasons and they ruined Toby, I'm even not be annoyed about this. I still finished the show and was like, that was one of the best things I've ever watched. I cried throughout the entirety of the finale. Literally started the episode, started crying, and did not stop until it ended.
Fair enough. That's like understandable.
It's just good stuff, and plus it's just great characters that I love all of them, even Will Bailey, because I know a lot of people don't like Will Bailey, but I do love Will Bailey. Yeah.
Gotcha. Your love is coming through as you're talking.
I love it dearly.
I can tell. Next week you're gonna turn up with a West Wing tattoo. You're gonna be like, oh wait, that's me. I'm getting tattoos all the time.
Yeah, I don't actually have any tattoos. That's a fun fact for you there. I do not have.
I have a few.
Yes, I do. That I knew.
Yeah. I mean, you already answered the questions I didn't even ask.
Well, then I want to know, because you've been going through them again.
Yes.
Because you watched them back when they were airing, didn't you?
Because I'm old.
Well, yeah, I was 2 when the first episode came out.
Well, I wasn't old when the first episode came out, obviously. It was my because it came out in, how old I was?
It was 99, so, and you're about 7 years old.
I was 9.
Yeah,
I was 9. Mm-hmm. There you go. And you know, my parents were very surprised that I am watching a show like this. I was surprised as well, but I was a weird kid. I don't know.
I don't know, man. So I was watching crime dramas from like age 11.
There you go. So, you know, and it was hard waiting for the episodes to come. I'm not gonna lie, like, you know, obviously back then you didn't have the luxury to just sit down and binge watch the whole thing. And there were cliffhangers in there that made you go like, oh my god. And the worst thing was when you had to wait like 3 or 4 months between 2 seasons. And
yeah,
like,
I mean, I can't imagine the wait between the big end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. Because that finale is like I was literally sitting there going, like, oh god, Josh. Of course it was Josh.
Yeah, so it was hard. but it was worth it. And I also gonna do this and say that those who are mourning about One Division coming out once a week, I know I moaned about it as well, but it's out of pure excitement. I
Mm.
actually really enjoy watching them like this
Yeah, it's that thing
because
of like, how dare they put them out once a week, but also don't stop.
yes, exactly. Like, it gives to the excitement. I am more excited to sit down every Friday than I ever was before.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. So yeah, it's called television. Just so
Wait,
you know.
yeah, did you see that? It was I think Grace tweeted, like retweeted it. There was like an
uh,
IndieWire
yeah,
article
that's
that was
right.
like, it's like
It's like
what you're referring to is episodic television.
it didn't die out. It still exists, and actually, a lot of shows still work like this. And WandaVision is actually perfect for it. To be
Hmm.
fair.
Although at the
So
end of
yeah,
that last episode, I was sitting there going, I
I
can't
know.
believe it ended already, especially because those episodes are like, they're sneaky. Because you think, oh, look, this is 37 minutes long. No, it's not. It's half an hour long, and there's 7 minutes worth of credits at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. But the last three episodes are gonna be apparently an hour long.
Ooh,
So that's interesting.
interesting.
Interesting. But yeah, I enjoyed watching the West Wing like that. Like, there were times, I'm not gonna lie, there were times when I forgot that it was coming on Friday. I was like, oh shit, I missed the West Wing. But then I quickly caught up on it. Yeah, it was a really good show. Like, among the shows that were airing with it, it was definitely my favorite one.
Oh,
And mostly because I just loved looking into how the whole White House works.
yeah.
And I think, obviously there are a lot of things in that are made up. And
Yeah. There are things
you know
that I would recommend anybody who is interested in the show and wants to kind of learn more about it on the outside of it as well, listen to the West Wing Weekly podcast, because they do such a good job of breaking down every episode, um, in terms of plot and whatnot. But then they also get these incredible interviews with people who used to work in the White House to
mm,
kind of talk about certain things to do with the episode, and like, hey, how accurate was this sort of thing? A lot of them were actually West Wing fans, which is just funny to me. Just the number of them is like, did you watch the West Wing? Yeah, I did watch the West Wing whilst it was on. But they talked
it,
to like former press secretaries and like speech writers and like
mm,
so many so different types of people so you can learn about just so much of like the machinations of the White House, and like especially in the era of Clinton and Bush, which is when the show was airing.
mm.
It's just really fucking fascinating podcast, even if they did shit on my boy Josh all the time.
Oh god.
Regularly they were just like, Josh is being a dick this episode. I'm like, you shut your mouth. Defend my boy.
Well, sometimes he was a dick.
Yeah,
Let's be
sometimes he was
honest.
a dick. I'm fully aware, but they made him out to be way more of a dick than he actually is.
Fair, 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 fair. But yeah, I don't think I am as big of a fan as you are. I do like it a lot, but it's like I would go back to favorite episodes rather than
Right.
rewatching the whole thing, uh, because I do think there were like weaker episodes in there
Oh
that I
yeah.
don't really like. And actually, I just realized now, because you gave me a list of episodes to
I give you a
rewatch.
couple, yeah.
Yes, and I actually did not like how they did the season two first two episodes.
You don't like In the Shadow of Two Gunmen? Okay, explain.
I don't like the way they did it because I
You're
don't
not a
like
fan
when
of the
there's like
flashback?
yes, I don't
I
like
see.
I like flashbacks, but I
Mm.
don't like them when they are like in a drama situation, like Joss has been shot, and
Mm.
let's remember all the things, how we all came together, and I'm like, but like he's he's in surgery. I don't care about your flashbacks. I know it sounds
Yeah.
weird, but I feel like that those flashbacks were like, it was a really good way to get to know how they all came together. Like, I like the story in there, but I don't like that it was put into these 2 episodes. I think that was my problem with it. Like, I wanted to focus more on the drama part, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, that's the thing about Sorkin never went for that sort of thing, you know. He
Yeah,
never
I
went for
know.
the
I
like
realized it
really
afterwards.
obvious like drama element of like he wasn't going to show you like any of the sort of foreign policy sort of stuff going on. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just how are we going to make this like group of people sit in a room and make it really interesting for you to watch anyway? Because that is what Sorkin does best. He sits people in rooms and he gets them to talk to each other, and it's just the most compelling fucking thing you've ever seen in your life. Hence why I got you to watch 17 People as well, because that is like a prime example of that as like a,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
The-
so good.
Definitely. And, the reason you like this is the reason why I keep telling you to watch Game of Thrones.
But hey, I tried Game of Thrones. I did. I like it was a while ago now, I'll admit, but I watched most like not I didn't watch the finale of season 1, but I watched episode 9. I think the last thing I saw was Ned Stark getting his head cut off, and I just was like, meh. It just wasn't did not grab me.
Mm.
Not sure. I couldn't.
Because to be fair, I love West Wing because of the conversations, and then the closest thing that ever got to them was Game of Thrones. Because some of the conversations in Game of Thrones is just like, there were a lot of people complaining that they are talking too much in Game of Thrones, but like those are the best parts.
I love it when they talk too much. It's one of the reasons why I loved Gilmore Girls growing up. It's like they just talk really quickly. I love fast dialogue.
Yeah, it's
anything
so
that
much fun.
anything that can kind of have it, just like a bunch of people being very articulate and just sort of bouncing things back at each other. Plus, Sorkin has said many times that he writes dialogue because he like music, which is exactly how I hear dialogue. I will get dialogue stuck in my head like it's music. Sometimes
Mm.
I would have specific lines from like whatever thing I might have been watching like get stuck in my head, and I want to say it like over and over again, like I would want to sing a song that was stuck in my head. I've had it a couple of times with this show, but that's one of the reasons because it sounds so good that I want to just
Yeah.
I might not understand all of it because they'll be like talking like really intense foreign policy stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this means, but it sounds good.
It works like that. That's the magic of it.
Yeah,
But yeah, tell me who's your favorite character. I guess we can jump to that one.
it's Josh Lyman. It's my boy Josh.
I had
I
to
haven't
ask.
asked you about this. No, I'm kidding. I do love Josh. I love Josh very dearly. I love I liked everybody immediately. I kind of loved CJ first because I mean Alison fucking Janney is kind of the powerhouse of this show.
Hmm.
I love I just have she's just this incredibly capable hang on, what is it that I because I wrote a bunch of character notes down. What did I write? I wrote I'm just 6 foot 6 feet of pure badassery and competency. She's like just it's I mean everybody's incredibly competent because that's kind of
Mm.
the draw of the show, but I just loved how even when like things like went against her or she fucked up or something like that along those lines, she still found a way to like fix her own mistakes and became better because of like anything that she did wrong.
Mm.
I love that all of them are flawed in some kind of way and like
Yeah.
had like hubrises that kind of got the better of them sometimes, Josh being definitely one of them. The boy is so arrogant sometimes and like just completely lets like get ahead of him, but oh man. um yeah, obviously I got to episode 5 in the first season is called The Crackpots and These Women, and it's one of my favorite episodes because I mean I love everything part of it because I think Bartlett gives one of my favorite speeches at the end of that episode, but also it's the episode where Josh gets given the NSC card to tell him where
Hmm.
to go in the event of an emergency, and he just spends the entire episode like don't really know what to do with this because it's like I could go into like in this like out of bounds scenario where like a nuclear bomb goes off, he would be in the bunker with the president, but the rest of his friends would end up incinerated. That's kind of and he just can't deal with it, and he goes, no, I have to give this back because I want to be a comfort to my friends in tragedy. And it was just in that moment I was like, I love this man. He's my favorite.
I mean, in that episode, they talk about, I don't know what was the disease that they talk about.
Oh, smallpox. He
There you
does that whole rant about the how the end of the world isn't going to be it's not going to be a bomb going off or anything like that. It's going to be a little test tube with a degrading little rubber cap that somebody throws down. And it's just watching that now is just sort of like,
Yeah. That's what I wanted to say. I was like, oh, I forgot about this part.
yeah.
Yep. It hits you if you watch it now. It's like,
It's just this hit.
God, God damn.
But they did another episode like that in which like end of season 5, it's called No Exit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when they Debbie supposedly gets like sprayed with something and they think that she's got and they have to go through the whole like quarantining process. Everybody gets like shut down and that one, it's just the way that everybody they do that thing. Do you remember there was an episode of Scrubs way back in the day that showed like the passing of diseases? Like it had I think about that was like the first thing I thought about when this whole thing started. I was like, all I could think about is that scene from Scrubs when they show how the disease passes from one person to another and like how it can then infect one person.
It's
or
scary, but
yeah,
it's true.
but it's like the way that they shoot that opening sequence of the episode is that they keep doing these like really like close lingering shots on people's hands touching things. And like or like touching their faces and like their mouths and like coughing and stuff, and I was sitting there going, oh god. It was like the moment they brought masks out, I'm like, that's just life now.
I think it was it was Jane Lynch who tweeted out that ever since we have to wear face masks, I didn't have the flu or anything else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep. I was like, I am the kind of person that when winter hits, I immediately get the flu or something or a cold or something. I didn't have that.
I got a cold this year, but like it was very short and I got over it quite quickly. But yeah, it's funny how not really going outside too much and it stops you from getting sick.
Yeah, and just putting on a freaking face mask. It's like it can help a lot. So here's your PSA, guys.
Yeah, I think there's I read about a really interesting thing. Just to go off topic for a minute, read a whole really interesting thing about how even though we are obviously in the midst of a pandemic and we should be kind of washing things very closely and sanitizing, but like as soon as things kind of come back to normal and there's far less of a risk of that kind of infection spreading like the plague that it is, really, we shouldn't keep over sanitizing everything, because if you bring out kids in that environment, they are way more likely to get like a ton of allergies because they just don't have the immune systems built up to kind of fight anything else. So I look forward to a time where we can kind of find a middle ground and where we like, if you're sick and you have to go out in public, you should wear a mask in order to maybe stop infecting other people quite as much. But also, hopefully we have to get back to a place where I can just get on a bus and not have to worry about that sort of thing, or go into a shop and not have to put on a face mask, because it's like there's some kind of middle ground that we should be able to find our way to, which I look forward to the day that we can get back to that.
Soon. Hopefully soon.
Do you have anyway? I'm gonna pivot right back to the conversation now and say, do you have a favorite character?
I do.
Do you want to tell me?
It's CJ, because I love Alex and Jenny. A lot. I love you, Alex and Jenny. You're great. I want to hug you one day.
Honestly, just absolutely adore her.
And then poor guy. You can't see him.
Can't see him. You can't see him on mine either. My chair. There he is.
But it's the president. There you go.
That's fair.
Because like I just told you that every time this man starts to talk, especially, usually at the end of episodes, I'm like, don't cry, get back in that here. And just trying to knock. It's he's great. He's fucking great.
Martin fucking Sheen.
Martin fucking Sheen, exactly.
Oh man, what a guy.
I quite like Charlie as well.
I love Charlie. I love Charlie very
Charlie is
dearly.
great. Yeah, yeah, he's great. I don't like Donna.
I'm offended. I'm
I
honestly
know.
like that hurts me on a very deep and emotional level. I love
That,
Donna.
that's why I whispered. I hope that you wouldn't hear. Oh God, I'm sorry. And I feel like that even though I love him as an actor, Toby is kind of a jackass sometimes.
They ruined Toby. That's the thing though. Like Toby in the first 4 seasons was complicated and moral and like you know, he was curmudgeonly, but he was never a bad person. Like he was always
Oh no, no,
incredibly
no. Yeah.
but they made Toby into this kind of like they made him into an asshole in the last few seasons because they just never understood him. And then they had the whole military shuttle thing, which he wouldn't have done that. He just wouldn't have done that. I could just it infuriates me that they I mean I like you can feel Richard Schiff being annoyed at like all of the stuff that they had him do in those last couple of seasons
Mm.
because it just I mean and I was annoyed looking at it. There's an episode in season 6 where it's the episode where Toby finds out that his brother died, um right, and there was a scene in that episode where Josh comes in and starts yelling at him and then
Yeah.
they have a fight. And I was watching it like, the fuck am I looking at right now? None of this is like not in it's Toby wouldn't be acting like this. Josh wouldn't call him a bastard because like none of this makes any sense.
Mm.
And there were a few moments like that in those last couple of seasons. Like I love all of the stuff to do with the campaign. I think that's really well done, and it clearly comes from experience because Eli Addy kind of went through that whole process. Who's one of the writers on the show? He was a speechwriter under Clinton and then worked for Al Gore, so he knew that whole process very well, and you can feel that in when they actually did it. But
Mm.
they just ruined a lot of like there were so many characters that they kind of didn't understand fully. I actually think Donna's one of the only people that they managed to improve in those last couple of seasons because they
Mm-hmm.
gave her agency and they gave her like a want for more, because I think that was one of the things that Sorkin didn't do particularly well with Donna in those first few seasons, is that
Mm-hmm.
she just is kind of there. She is an assistant, she's happy to be there, which is great, and I think obviously the interplay between her and Josh is fucking great. Well, I love them so dearly. But she never had any like ambitions, and they gave her and they managed to turn her into somebody who had ambitions to do something more in those last couple of seasons, so that she went from being Josh's assistant to first lady chief of staff, which I just love that for her. But
I
like
do.
people like Toby, they did it with CJ a little bit as well, because they made her into the chief of staff, which you'd think would be like this huge promotion, but then they kind of took all of the fun out of her. And she was always so fun, you know. She kind of did like stupid stuff. One of the reasons why Sorkin hired Alison Janney was because he loved how she does a pratfall, which is why she does that. She falls off the treadmill in the first episode. He just
That's so funny still.
that, and obviously the bit where she falls into the pool in the,
Oh my God.
CJ, you fell into the pool there.
Yep.
I love it so much. Yeah,
It happens.
I don't
It
know.
happens.
I mean that, and they just kind of abandoned Charlie throughout the last couple of seasons as well, which always made me sad.
Yeah.
Like I
I
know
didn't
that
like that.
in season 7, everybody had like less episodes because they had to bring costs down and all that sort of stuff. So that's why Richard Schiff's not really in it, and he didn't even want to be in the finale. That's how angry he was at the whole thing, and how he completely disenfranchised he was, which just breaks my heart. Because I love Toby very dearly. Yeah, there's a lot of like those last couple of seasons. There's a lot of very mixed feelings, but overall, I do love like the campaign was enough to kind of invigorate the whole thing for me, that
Mm.
I still felt like satisfied by the end of it, even if I was annoyed with some of the choices that they made for certain characters. Yeah.
I mean, I do remember that when it aired, it's like I think that's when I started to lose interest in like when season 6 started to come out. It was
Yeah.
like by that point I was a bit like,
A lot of people
yeah,
called season 5 like the sort of speed bump year where they kind of had to try and figure out how to do the show without Sorkin. And
yeah,
I honestly think I don't mind season 5. There's not a whole lot to kind of pin to its name. Obviously, the Supremes is kind of one of the best episodes in that season because you have the whole storyline with them trying to put Glenn Close on the Supreme Court, which is I mean, it's just such a like a one of the reasons why it's so good is because it's such an optimistic episode where they kind of go from like, oh, we can't do this. Maybe we can do this. No, we can't do this. Actually, no, we can do this. And we end up with this really excellent result at the end of it. And it was like, oh, this is what the West Wing's about. But I actually felt season 6 was more difficult to watch because they split Josh and Donna up, and I had such trouble trying to deal with the fact that they weren't like none of them were a unit at that point. Like everybody
hmm
was off in different directions. I was like, I feel like I'm I had to really push through those episodes because I was like, I'm just not enjoying this section of it. And I knew it
yeah,
was going to get better again with season 7, kind of having everybody involved in the campaign and everything. But it was rough for a few minutes there. And now I've gone back and listened to people talk about it and stuff. I have a bit more respect for like what they did with Donna, even if I do think it was wrong the way that they did it.
hmm
Like I just refuse to believe that like sure maybe Josh would like try and stop her from leaving, but I think they made his motivations wrong. Because it like they just had a whole arc where Donna went to Gaza and got blown up, and like you
hmm
can't tell me that Josh wouldn't blame himself for that, considering
yeah,
the fact that they've literally built it into his character multiple times throughout the season that he doesn't leave people. He thinks it's his fault when people get hurt around him. That you can't tell me that he wouldn't like then hold on to Donna even tighter to be like, no, you're not going anywhere because I sent you off one time before and you got hurt, so therefore you are not allowed to leave. But no, they didn't
yeah.
touch that at all. That would have been good character work.
Yeah, I remember that, once they weren't that close, like
Hmm.
it felt like that it was falling apart a bit. I was like,
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I remember that I only watched season 7
Mm.
uh a year later, like it originally aired, because I
Yeah,
was like, I am not even sure if I am interested in it anymore.
I loved season 7
So
actually.
it definitely had a rough
It had a little rough
patch
spot
there.
in the middle there.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it kind of lost its magic a little bit. But yeah, season 7 definitely,
It kind of brings it back in a bit. Like
yeah.
it finds a way to be something new and interesting. Like at the end of season 7, I was sitting there like I would watch another couple of seasons of the Santos administration at this point. Like I would watch like these newer characters
hmm
navigating this sort of world and also stuff. Um, but yeah, I had a thought just then and I lost it. Hang on, I'm gonna see
Oh
if I have it
no,
in my
your notes.
notes. No, not really.
No,
I
no.
will say, under Donna, I just went, Donna fucking Martel, I adore you so.
Fair deal. Fair deal. I do get people who like her. I don't know why I didn't like her. Like, I can't put it into words. I think it's mainly because she was a bit yeah,
I,
eh.
it's so funny watching because I watched the pilot again yesterday, like I mentioned to you.
Yeah.
Um, it's so funny watching them bring in Mandy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mandy, who disappeared after one season and was never mentioned again.
She
But like
just
how they introduced Mandy as like supposedly the sort of romantic foil for Josh, right?
I
But they
think
clearly
something.
had
Yeah.
no chemistry.
No, no, no,
But like
no.
within the first scene that you have Donna and Josh in the same room, I was like, it's just there instantly. The two of them clearly just clicked
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah. I think there was some kind of trouble with Moira Kelly, who played Mandy. I
the
don't remember what, but something
basic
was going
thing
on
that
there.
happened with it was that they introduced Moya Kelly. They again have brought her in in the pilot, obviously, to be this kind of like, they thought they were going to build up this will they won't they thing between Mandy and Josh, but then there wasn't really anything between them. And then after that point, they didn't know what to do with her, so they kind of didn't. He stopped kind of writing stuff for her, and the whole thing just didn't really work out. So that by the end of it, she's getting narratives like the pandas, you know. And so by the end of the season, it was just sort of like, this clearly isn't doing anything. You're not happy. We're not particularly happy. Why don't we just part ways? So, which, you know, I guess is a shame, but also Mandy never really fit within the
No,
narrative. Like the moment you start season 2 and you're like, all right, yeah, Mandy's not here.
yeah,
You just don't really miss her that much, which is a
I
shame,
never
'cause
really liked her. So
I love Maura Kelly as an actress. Like I used to watch
yeah.
her in One Tree Hill, and obviously she was Lucas Scott's mum, and
Mm.
it took me a while to place her because I was like, oh, she's really familiar.
Oh my god, that was me with Lisa Edelstein, because I completely forgot that she was in this one as Laurie.
Oh right, yeah.
I was like,
Early Laurie stuff. Actually, we haven't spoken about Sam Seaborn, who is basically Chris Traeger just turned down a bit.
yeah. I know Sam was always a bit like, I didn't mind him, but I also wouldn't
He's a
have
sweet
minded
boy.
if he wasn't there.
Yeah, well,
To be
kind of when he left, it was kind of like, what did I write about Sam? I wrote, you're a sweet boy. Your relationship with Toby was so pure, and you signified absolute idealism and what could be in the written prose. And then I went, the whole thing with Laurie was dumb, but you always wanted the best for the people around you.
yeah, it was really dumb, but
Just that whole narrative thing, like I liked the idea of him like befriending this person who was
yeah,
in maybe the situation that he didn't agree with. It's just the fact that he kept trying, they pushed this like weird savior narrative where it was like, I'm gonna save her from this life of sex work, and it's like she was constantly like, I don't need saving, I'm fine, stop trying to save me, I'm not going to change anything, I'm fine.
yeah, but I think that could have worked if they went into it a bit deeper, because I there were times where I even forgot that that storyline existed, because
Right.
sometimes it felt like that they forgot about it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is still going on. Okay.
Yeah, they bring it up again. I think if I would have been more interested in that kind of storyline if it had led to a place where Sam actually let go of those sort of prejudices and like ideas of what she should be doing with herself.
Yeah.
That would have been more interesting to me.
Yeah.
But no, it just kind of was like, it constantly kept being sort of brought back up again every so often, and he'd be like, no, I'm going to continue to try and, what was it, I'm on a, I know that might have been something from the newsroom. I think there might have been a line about trying like on a mission to civilize or something like that.
Mm.
And it's like, you don't need to do that. She's fine, Sam. She's fine. But I
Yeah.
will say one of my favorite lines is I think he's in Shibboleth, where they're trying to write the Thanksgiving Day speech, and he's like reading all this stuff about like he reading off a bit like he wrote about like the pilgrims came to and he kind of describes their like whole life, and then he ends it with, and then they solve crimes. Pilgrim detectives. I'm like, that's what I love about Sam Seaborn. He's a little bit silly, and I love that he was that kind of perfect foil for Toby, who was, you know, so serious and like moral and all that sort of stuff. And you have this sort of lighthearted Sam on the other side, and they kind of balanced each other out. That was good. Being said, I did love like when Will Bailey gets introduced in like early season 4, because I know that Josh Molina and Aaron Sorkin are like longtime friends. Josh Molina was in Sports Night. He was in early runs of A Few Good Men on Broadway. They're just like good friends. And when Sports Night ended, Josh Molina basically emailed Aaron Sorkin like, "Can I have a part in the West?" Like, I'm free. Like he like heard Rob Lowe was leaving. He was like, "I'm available, and I will let you pay me less money." So like just the introduction of that character is like such a clearly a Sorkin like giving this like gift to Josh Molina in this like incredibly competent and like what's the word that I'm not currently being, articulate human being. I thought that that when that, because I didn't know that Rob Lowe was about to leave, I thought that because they introduced him as the campaign manager for this congressman who died, obviously.
Mm.
And I thought that they were going to have him run in his place, because I was like, that would work. He'd be clearly very good at this. Like he clearly knows the issues and he'd clearly be able to advocate for them properly. But no, they were
Yeah.
setting up for Sam to do that so that then he could leave,
Mm.
which I always found to be an interesting choice. And then Will Bailey obviously joins as in Sam's in Sam's job in one of just the second part of the inauguration two-parter, where I messaged you as I was watching it, because you have that entire scene where Josh goes to Donna's house with like his crew of Danny and Toby
Yeah.
and Charlie
Yeah.
and Will, and they throw snowballs at a window. It's I love that. It's just like I'm losing my little tiny mind. Everything about this is incredible. I got to
Oh
watch those
God.
episodes again with the live watch that West Wing Weekly did
Yes.
just after the inauguration. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, I don't know. I did realize that I think still to this day my favorite season is season one.
Ah,
And actually it's because it has, I don't know, that episode just talked to me when it was so sad. It's episode 7, the state dinner,
oh, okay.
when they have the hurricane coming in as well.
Right, the bit at the end where he's talking to that is a
Oh,
lot to.
that scene is just heartbreaking.
It's
Like,
so beautiful. Like
it's
yeah, those moments where Bartlett got to be like really human with people
mhm.
are some of the
I
best.
love those. That's why I love the show. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think sometimes it was, it was like a bigger moment, but sometimes it was like the tiniest moment in there, and it just made the episode like 100% greater.
Yeah.
And I think, like, even as I was rewatching it now, because I haven't seen it ever since it aired, and I was 9
Yeah.
when it first came about. So obviously, I did not remember too much from the first season. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, few things were in there, but not too many.
Mm.
And then when that episode came around on my rewatch party, I was like, oh yep. Yep, I do remember this one. The second they mentioned the hurricane, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna cry on this. And I
Yeah,
did.
there were a few points where it like especially I think around, because like to your point when you said that when Bartlett just starts talking about things, it just moves you to tears at times. There are a number of times, like it happened way more I think in season 4, because I think he gave a few more speeches in that period, because obviously he was running and so there was a lot of like there were the number of times I was sitting there going, why I'm getting so choked up right now.
Yeah.
um
First season was that for me. Every
mm.
single time I'm like, don't cry. But it's so nice. Don't cry.
I the one I mentioned to you, which it always kind of takes me by surprise, is the in the two-parter for season 4, the
Yeah.
opening, when they have the bombing,
Hmm.
and he's doing that speech just after at the, I can't remember exactly what kind of an event it was, but he's like doing some kind of speech, and he's talking about how there were people who got out of the building and then they ran back into the fire, and then he says something along the lines of, the streets of heaven are too crowded with angels tonight, and every
Yeah.
time I'm just like, oh god, I can't actually. Too much. I'm actually getting
Yeah. It's like,
like,
even thinking about it, it's like,
like that line just comes out of nowhere within that
yeah.
speech, and I'm like, oh, I'm gone. You've lost me.
And I think it's the side effect of watching Sideways' channel.
Mm,
But I think I realized what's the magic, the added magic behind it. It's the music.
it's true. Snuffy Walden's music is incredible in this show.
And I noticed, like, especially now that I actually paid very close attention to the music, how it changes.
Yeah.
And whenever Bartlett is getting into a deeper speech, or just like, a few conversations, the music changes. Like, it's just slight change, but it gets a lot more emotional than what you heard before. And I'm like, I'm watching way too much YouTube. But I think I cracked the code.
Music is such an important tool for that sort of thing. I think season one does it a little bit heavy-handedly a couple of times. Like they've even spoken about that a little bit. That like that early season, they felt like they had to put more sort of music in to kind of fill spaces.
Mhm.
I think Tommy Schlamme talks a little bit about how they kind of in the latter seasons took a lot of it out so that they had more moments of like quiet, so that when music did come in, it had way more of an effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do absolutely agree with you that but it's so funny that because you've got like one of the best opening like theme tunes just ever, I think, with the West Wing thing, because it's so iconic and it
Oh,
really
it's
does
so.
have that sense of patriotism like
Oh, definitely.
imbued inside it.
Mm.
But then you have like this whole episode and you have these really emotional moments, and then like often the episode will kind of fade out and then you'll get that really happy ambient music.
I never got that. I was like, why? At
I
least
love
change the music, or
I,
don't put anything in there. It's
I
like,
love that piece of music very dearly, but just the tonal shift when it comes in is like amazing.
especially when they did it at the end of season one. I was like,
Who's been shot? Who's been shot?
yeah, and you're like, what the fuck? It takes you out of the moment. Like, come on.
Well, to be fair, I think it's almost, it could be considered like a smart move in some ways, because it's like you have that moment and then it's like, here's the end of the episode. Now you can start to transition out of that headspace. Now you can leave this bit behind.
Leave me to my grief, please. It doesn't work like that. I always get annoyed when they do this in movies and TV shows. I'm like, no, give me more time. I
Oh,
need to process the whole thing. But yeah, we are getting close to the end of our
man.
episode. So, any final thoughts on this beautiful TV
Uh,
show?
I will say that I think season 2 is my favorite season.
Okay.
Because you mentioned yourself saying I think season 2 is my favorite season because it has just some of
Mm.
my favorite episodes in it, including Shadow of Tomb Gunman parts 1 and 2. These are all the episodes that I got you to watch as well.
Yes.
It's got Shibboleth in there, which is the episode in which Bartlett's trying to get Charlie to find him a new carving knife, and he's like, "Don't you
Yeah.
already have one?" And he's like, "Yes, I've got this one." That my father gave to me, and I would like, supposedly you're meant to give it to your son, and then he gives him the knife.
Yeah.
That is one of those moments that is like, you really don't see it coming, and it completely blindsides you, and you're like, oh. He thinks of him as his son.
It's so nice.
Such a nice moment. And then obviously I got you to watch 17 People, because that is a phenomenal piece of writing. There's actually a website dedicated to like the anatomy of that episode called 17people.com. That's 17
Mm-hmm.
written out as a word, which is, it's got these little infographics and it shows you like how people sort of walked around spaces and everything. And it's also got one of my favorite pieces of dialogue of all time, which is just Josh and Donna being like, if you were in an accident, I wouldn't stop for a beer, and if you were in an accident, I wouldn't stop for red lights, which is just the most beautiful way of saying I love you without actually saying I love you that I've ever heard.
Oh my god.
It's so beautiful. What a great sentiment.
Not arguing.
And then you go on to Two Cathedrals, which and Noel, which I haven't even mentioned, but I think is like, I have my favorite episode, which is Noel, which is the episode where Josh deals with his PTSD, which I think I honestly finished that episode and was like, if Bradley Whitford didn't win an Emmy for that, I'm gonna sue people, which thankfully he did, because Christ alive, he gives the performance of a lifetime in that episode.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I cannot. I have watched that episode like 4 times at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets me every time. The whole sequence when he's listening to Yo-Yo Ma and he's having his attack, I think is just so incredibly edited. Like it honestly feels like a panic attack, and his performance in it is so stunning. and the music in it is amazing. You've got Yo-Yo Ma in there. I like that piece of music. I've grown to really love as well. The Bach in G major. So it's just that whole episode. But that's my favorite episode. But I think the best episode, even just technically speaking, is Two Cathedrals, which is the finale to season 2, where you have the whole thing with Bartlett dealing with the death of Mrs. Landingham, and just the fucking Martin Sheen in the scene in the cathedral where he's cursing God out in Latin, like. It's like, I can't even begin to express, like, I mean, that episode is all, it's got flashbacks in it, but they serve such a purpose in that
I liked it in that.
you see like a young Jed Bartlett meeting Mrs. Landingham for the first time, how they have this kind of like familial relationship and how important she was in his, like, throughout his life. Like, these two clearly had just spent so much time together, and she was always the one to kind of call him out on his bullshit when he wasn't, you know, doing enough and all that sort of stuff. And he just decides the whole thing is like based on the backdrop of like whether or not he's going to run for the presidency again. And it just that whole sequence at the end where the Dire Straits is playing, he goes out in the rain and Charlie leaves his coat behind because the president's not wearing his coat, and he says that he's not going to run, and he gets up to the podium and he puts his hands in his pockets and he smiles a little bit, and you're like, that man's going to run for president again. And I'm fully on board for it. And I just think I got the same feeling from watching the Ozymandias episode of Breaking Bad, where it was kind of like, this is an excellent hour of television. You couldn't watch this hour of television unless you had seen everything before it, though.
Yeah.
Because it relies so much on everything, like just knowing all the characters so well, and like it's one of the things I think I speak about quite a lot, in that it's the perfect sort of payoff for everything that you've seen beforehand. I love episodes of anything, or just narratives in general, that can pay things off so spectacularly. Yeah. And then the obviously the lovely special that I decided to put as my background. That was one of the most fun things I got to watch. Once the show, I finished the show, I was like, I'm going to sit down and watch the West Wing special for when we all vote now. Which this is a great episode, just in general. And it was so fun to watch these two go up against each other again, because like neither of them have lost their touch. We've spoken multiple times now over the past couple of months just how much we both love Richard Schiff and Martin Sheen.
I love Richard Schiff.
I love Richard Schiff so much.
He's so great. But Martin as well.
Yes. I have grown a lot of love for Martin Sheen from, there's one of the episodes that they did of the West Wing Weekly where they interviewed Martin Sheen, and he's just talking like it really put into perspective for me that, you know, Martin Sheen was a young man when Kennedy won the presidency. Like he was always been very politically active, and just hearing him talk about that with such like effusiveness and like just emotion involved. Like I listened to that hour, I think it's like an hour and a half long episode, and I like just near the end of it I just cried, because he was just being so like just so much emotion, and a man who has lived a life, you know. Just love Martin Sheen. And just shout out to John Spencer, who the funeral episode that they did for him, I wept during. He was so wonderful, and like everything I hear about him makes me sort of respect him more as a person. He seemed to he had the legacy that guy has is something I think we could all aspire to. It's just the way that people talk about him is just heartwarming in a way that I God bless him.
My final thought is that for some reason, I don't know why, I could see if I look at this show and then I look at real life presidents, I could imagine Barack Obama's West Wing being like this. I don't know why.
I think that it would probably be close enough. You know, Santos was based on Barack Obama before he was even a presidential candidate, which I find to be fascinating. Like they just like managed to like, you know, pick out this young senator from Chicago, and they were like, well, here's who we're going to base Jimmy Smith's character on.
I love that.
It's so great.
I love that. It's so great. And, you know, it's a great show. So
it is an excellent show. Just watch it. I promise you're just going to have a good time.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, then I think it's definitely time to
It's
just
beautiful
tune it
comfort
in.
food. It is
It
exactly
is.
what government should be, and like
Yeah.
politics, and just a lot of people who uh, want to be doing better. And folks, just talking to the people at home now, if you feel like you shouldn't be getting involved in politics because you feel like nothing ever changes, it's the exact reason why you should be getting involved in politics. Things that your government should
Exactly.
be working for you. You need to tell them
Exactly.
what it is that you want, and you need to
Yeah.
lobby for it. That's all I have to say. It
Yep. I agree. I agree. This was fun.
was fun.
I,
I had a good time.
I I can see that you're happy, which makes me happy. And then I think our usual stuff. Don't forget to subscribe here, like the video, and comment.
Yes.
And then you know the Apple bits.
Yes, it races on Apple Podcasts for the, which is helpful apparently.
It is. It is. Because we are still a podcast, so
Yes, we are.
it's still.
You don't have to watch us. You can just listen to us. It's nice.
You can just, although you're gonna miss this beautiful film,
And you get to miss
uh,
you miss our backgrounds, our beautiful
and
backgrounds.
that as well. But if you just fancy listening to us, then we are still there. And then there's still pandemic, so put on
Hmm.
your mask, wash your hands, keep the distance,
Yep.
and let's hope that we're gonna get the fuck out of this by the end of this year at least,
Soon.
because it's getting a bit tiring.
And to the cast of the West Wing, we would love to have any of you on at any time.
Yes. Is especially if I may say this, that just just Martin Sheen maybe. I know it's a big ask, but I would love to talk to
I
Martin Sheen.
desperately want to talk to Bradley Whitford.
Oh, that, like, come on. I funnily enough, I want to talk with Bradley Whitford about Cabin in the Woods, because I just
Yeah. Bradley
I,
Whitford is one of those people who, like, after
he's
I
in
kind of,
everything.
he is in everything. He just pops up. I'm like, wait, hang on, he's in that as well. I'm like, hang on,
Oh,
I've seen so many movies with Bradley Whitford in it, and I had no idea.
see, see.
Love that man so dearly.
Ah,
Brad,
wow,
please come
please,
chat with us.
and maybe Alison.
Yes,
If it's
absolutely.
not a big ask, then we love you, Alison. And also her new movie is already out.
Yeah, I think the reviews for it for a bit naff, but everybody says that she's amazing.
Yeah, I will definitely watch it. I don't care. I have to see her.
Hmm.
Also, one last question before we leave.
Oh yeah,
Did you
go.
watch the Cruella trailer?
I did. I was way more impressed with that than I thought I was going to be.
Right?
I
And
was kind of watching it
oh
like,
my, I
hmm,
didn't realize it was Emma. I was like, that's Emma Thompson. Like, what the fuck? The
she's
evil. What's gonna be her name? Blah, 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 blah.
Cruella.
I will find out,
She's and
because I did check it. I was like,
I have been seeing a lot of memes about her, like just completely. It's like Cruella Deville, girl boss,
come on. So
time
Emma
to girl.
Thompson's name is gonna be Baroness. So I'm like, I think she's gonna be the evil one.
I don't think I know. Oh, is Emma? Hang on. I don't think
That's
I realized
Emma
that Emma Thompson
Thompson.
is in it. Is she the other woman that's in the trailer?
Yes,
What the? I didn't recognize her at all.
right. I was like, afterwards, I was like, oh, I wonder who that woman was. I'm gonna check it on IMDb, and I was like, that's Emma Thompson. What the fuck?
I love Emma Thompson.
I love Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson is great, and also I freaking loved Emma Stone's accent in there.
Mm,
I was like,
kind of.
seriously?
I like it a lot. I think it very much fits the tone that she's going for with that character.
Oh,
I like that she seems batshit.
yes. Yes, I love that. I love the ads that they did, like the poster ads and everything.
Mm,
I think she's gorgeous. I'm gonna draw her. That's my
smart move.
next assignment, because those posters are beautiful.
Mm.
I am excited, and it's coming out in May. So
May, yeah.
we are
I'm
very
interested.
we are,
I am intrigued. I did see a few people being like, I can't believe they're making it out like Cruella Deville has like it wasn't love, like is this kind of like misunderstood girl boss sort of big character. I'm like, even though she skins some fucking dogs, and like that was in the back of my head whilst I was watching it. But I do think that they make out the fact that she's fucking crazy in like
oh yeah.
throughout the trailer.
I'm sure it's gonna show. Like, I will just watch it for Emma Stone and Emma Thompson as well, because, like,
The Emmas.
come on, the Emmas, they are amazing. And that's it for today. We love you guys and take care.
Godspeed, everybody.